So hey guys, I'm currently back in Seattle. Um, it's pretty late right now, but I wish you can see the view. Everything's reflective. But Seattle's probably one of the most beautiful places on the planet, to me. I think the combination of the mountains and the water and also these like modern skyscrapers is very, very nice. But the important thing is that we finally got Plan out. So it's officially been deployed today. After the past few weeks of working through the kinks, we have a working version out. We're going to deploy it and begin marketing tomorrow. So we started in Replit and we moved it over into Cursor. We used a mix between the new Gemini Pro and the Claude Code. Ended up having to get the Max plan because things got a bit out of hand. But yeah, Replit ended up being not sufficient anymore. It wasn't able to handle a lot of the more advanced tasks, but Cursor was able to do essentially everything that we asked of it. So in this video, I'm just gonna go a bit into what that process looked like. It's gonna be very, very general, but I'm happy to, talk about any specific things that you guys want to know. Also, today I've been working a lot on Unreal. Have a client project that we're finishing. So if that's something that you guys want me to make videos about, happy to make a video about my Unreal work as well. Using AI for Unreal just isn't realistic right now. Tried it with C++ and it was okay, but the file structures were not very good. And with blueprints, forget about it. Even with the MCP, it's not very useful. So, okay, I'm gonna go into how we use Cursor to build Plan.
And I try using it for blueprints, try using some of the MCPs, and that's just abysmal. So yeah, I'll go into how we moved out of Replit and into Cursor. Okay, so this is starting out in Cursor. I'm essentially going to copy the chat, then bring it over into Claude, and I'm going to prompt it to give me a presentation so I can walk you guys through what the entire build process was like. Using Claude for things like this is really, really good, is excellent at organizing information and, also just answering any questions that you have. But yeah, essentially, when we moved it out of Replit onto Cursor, we had a lot of issues with dependencies, and Cursor was able to definitely help us. Replit is fairly rudimentary in the things that it's able to do. With any type of real development, you definitely want to head over into Cursor. Okay, so this is done now, and I can begin actually going through this step by step. All right, so we started off with London initially, but then we ended up expanding over into four cities, which are Boston, Austin, London, and New York City. There was actually a really, really interesting problem where since London and New York City have like such similar names for places, they ended up intersecting. So, as a nerd, that was very, very fun to solve. We used a combination of mainly Claude and Gemini, but also a bit of OpenAI for this. We used the Zen MCP server to have all of them talk to each other. I'll go a bit more in depth about that later. And while we're getting the iOS app ready, we made it very, very easy for people to add this as an icon to their home screen. So it's a website that looks and acts like an app for the meantime. Okay, so here's our tech stack. I did not choose this stack. This was chosen by Replit and Cursor. Replit chose the React, which is, the vast majority of apps built inside of Replit are going to be React. For the backend piece, the only thing that I really had a hand in was the Google integration. I wanted to use Gemini and Google Places, one, because they're in the same portal, so it's easy to access, but also Google Places has access to absolutely everything. The very first issue that we ran into were these constant pings. So instead of it just requesting information in one large prompt, it would ping it several times, and this led to a lot of rate limits and also just very, very confusing itineraries. So yeah, we had to go through and fix this loop. That's thanks to Cursor. I can't really give much insight on this, but I can give you one of the prompts. I said act as a senior networking engineer who's very familiar with the Google Places API and fix this utilizing a Gemini prompt. Definitely recommend role playing with AI as that's how you get the best answers. Then the next issue was the parsing. So being able to generate itineraries that seem very, very natural in terms of time was difficult. For example, if you planned your day out at 9 a.m., 6 p.m., and 10 p.m., it would give you the very first generation if you said you wanted coffee at 9 a.m. But then if you said that you wanted to have dinner at 10, it would mark that as 10 a.m. So we had to go in and once again role play and say you're an expert at using Gemini, find the best documentation for creating the very best prompts, and utilize them in a natural form in creating the itineraries. Um, yeah, I can't stress how excellent role playing is, and that generally provides very excellent prompts. Then I spoke a bit earlier about how we're transitioning this over into an app now. In the meantime, we're focused on building a icon which essentially acts like an app. Cursor was able to build the manifest for us, so create a little bit of metadata, which makes it seem more like an app rather than a website. It was able to do literally all that for us. So for the backend, we use a combination of Netlify and Railway. I'm honestly not sure how we're using Railway. I just know that it's implemented. For Netlify, I was very involved with this. I tried Render. I also tried Vercel. Neither of those worked, but Netlify had a really awesome CLI that was available in the terminal and was able to quickly push things so I can test it on mobile as well as web. There was also a really, really good system for quickly reverting back to one that worked. So that's essentially the entire tech stack. Right now, we're focused on building this into an iOS 26 app, which is going to take use of the liquid glass. We're very, very excited about that. We raised a very small amount of funding to get this done, and after rolling this out, which we're doing tonight, we're officially deploying. We're gonna go and raise an extra round. So yeah, if you guys want to know anything more about Cursor or how we switched over from Replit to Cursor, please let me know, and I'll go more in detail. And to be honest, I think right now I'll just quickly go over how we set this project up in Cursor. So this is the project itself, and you can see here I took this directly from Replit and I just cloned the Git inside, um, and you can see that the project is very, very messy. It's a bit all over the place. This is the Claude code snippet along with all of the dependencies. Then this is the Netlify. You can also see that the Vercel piece is still there. I really need to clean up this project, but the important part is getting it done. Um, to be honest, something that we kept on running into was that the AI was taking it upon itself to redesign. So we created a design system where we put in all of the colors and also all of the fonts. We had it referred to the logos as well so that it didn't just sort of make up logos and put them there. We broke them down into steps and visual hierarchy. It's very important to have these markdown documents when you're designing something inside of um, Cursor, rather it's through Claude Code or rather it's through Gemini. Then this is just the setup for the authentication, and you can go down here and you can see the different cities that we have implemented. So we have Austin, you have Boston, you have London, you have New York, and then you have the things like types. So it tells you the different type of neighborhoods and blase blase. And this is for parsing. So something that I would recommend when you're creating anything that deals with NLP is to create a reference point so that one is not spending so many tokens and that it always has something to refer back to very, very quickly instead of just kind of dangling. Yeah, as you can see, the .replit is still there. We're thinking about releasing an Android app as well. Something I really want to stress is the power of the Zen MCP server. So this allows multiple AI models to talk to each other, and it is absolutely excellent for planning. And that was a really, really big part in us being able to get this done so quickly and also so excellently. So um, I'm gonna ask Cursor what a Zen MCP server is, and then I can go through it with you guys. Let me speed this part up. Oh, I'll show you something else that we wanted to do. So we thought about generating PDFs for each different itinerary, and them being very, very beautiful and branded. But ultimately, it ended up being more trouble than it's worth. But yeah, this was a generative PDF generator, and then you would be able to send it to friends or blase blase. But yeah, that's also something to note is that you can test a feature inside of Cursor, and if it isn't worth it, then ultimately just eliminate it and move on. Okay, so I hope that effectively explains what we've built with Plan. I really just wanted to go over the concept as well as my workflow using Cursor and Claude Code. I would be happy to go more in depth about specific things. Would also be happy to, showcase the initial project in Replit more, um, if you guys want. But yeah, that's it. I think the main takeaways are start in something like a Replit or even like a Lovable or a Bolt if you're not a programmer, and then move it over to Cursor. Um, Download the Zen MCP server for planning because it's very, very important um, for you to go through that planning step. Otherwise, you'll just end up with these loops of issues that plague the vibe coding thing. So